Hi, my name's Muthu and I'll be talking to you about how I designed my chess pieces and rings. So first I designed a ring by extrusion. So I first took two circles and then I extruded that into space. So extrusion is very useful when you don't need anything that's spherical or something like that. It's good for symmetry around about a plane. Next, I used rotation to create a ring. So I rotated a circle around an axis. So rotation is good when you have something that is symmetric about an axis. So in this ring, because I used a circle to rotate it around, the ring is more curved around the edges and whatnot. So after this, so I 3D printed my two rings. So I decided that it would be best to place them flat along the surface of the ring, just because that is the best way so you don't get supports. Here you can actually see my rings. On the right is the one by rotation, and on the left is the one by extrusion. So after this, I decided to actually design my chess pieces. So first the king, so I took a sketch, I revolved it around an axis, and I extruded a hole in the center. Then to create the cross, I extruded a plus. And I 3D printed this with the base on the bottom, so that this way it would require minimal supports and it would have a good surface to stick to. And so this is the king with all of the supports it needed, and I was able to remove the supports using scissors and my own hands. And so I got a somewhat smooth print. After this, I decided to print my queen, and so for the queen, it's the exact same design, because I want to create uniformity between the pieces, but rather than a cross on the top, I put a sphere and then some tiny dots around the edge to indicate that it's a queen. And so now I was able to successfully remove the supports very easily because now I knew how to actually remove supports. So you can see the final queen here. After this, I decided to do the bishop, and so the bishop, it's the same design, except since I want the bishop to be smaller, I scaled it down to a smaller size. And then I added a top and extruded a small cut in the middle to indicate that it's a bishop. You can see my bishop here, and the holes cut into it. Now I made the rook, so it's the same design, but this time I scaled it even less than the bishop to make it slightly smaller than the bishop. And then I extruded a small block, and then you created a pattern around the top as to form the rook. And now I did the knight, so same exact thing, and I made it the same exact size as the rook. And to create the knight itself, I just extruded a small piece and then drilled 2 holes to make the eyes. So after this, I did the pawn. So because the pawn is even smaller than the rook and knight, I scaled this even further down. I believe the pawn was scaled down to 50% the size of the king, and then I added a sphere on the top to indicate it's a pawn. And so I 3D printed them, and I 3D printed them all in one model, and you can see because they were all put together that there's a lot of extra filament attached to the sides, but this didn't really impact it, and I was able to scrape it all off, and you can see the final products. All of their supports have been removed. And you can just see this is all of the final 3D printed pieces. All 6 chess pieces and 2 rings. Before I end this video, I would like to talk about one problem I encountered in the design process. When I was removing supports from the queen, the sphere on top fell off. This was due to me designing the piece such that the sphere was only tangent to the edge at one point. I was able to fix it using a handy tool called super glue. Anyways, I learned from my mistakes, so when I printed out the bishop, I embedded the sphere into the piece, which allowed it to stay on. Anyways, thanks for watching.